Since the third act of season 2 was released, I have not been able to think about anything else. I couldn't connect with any piece of art because it was too difficult. And so I didn't feel like making this episode on anything else than Arcane, which is the reason why we're here today talking about Arcane. Hello everyone and welcome back to Emil-based Writing Club. We are back for a very special episode. I'm so happy to have you here. I hope you're doing amazing. If you're not, I hope this episode is going to cheer you up. This episode is kind of talking about writing, but it's also talking about a big passion of mine, which is Arcane. How long has it been? Maybe 2-3 weeks? 4 weeks? I forgot. But Arcane last act of the season 2 was released a few weeks ago. My life hasn't been the same since. I'm still not over episode 7, I have to be honest. But let's not talk about this because it's gonna break my heart. I know a lot of you guys turned into me after a video I made on Arcane. So if you're here after this video, or those videos, because I think I made many videos on Arcane, welcome! It's so nice to have you here too. I hope you're gonna enjoy this video because if you're here for Arcane, you probably have the same obsession as me. Since the third act of season 2 was released, I couldn't connect with any piece of art because it was too difficult. It was too difficult to be connected to any piece of art that was not Arcane. Don't ask me why, it was just like this, and I was just trying to survive through this. It was really, really strange. And so I didn't feel like making this episode on anything else than Arcane. And as this podcast was about writing, I felt like it was a good thing to talk about why Arcane inspires me in my writing, because there's so much things that we can take from it and that I think I can take from it. And maybe out there some of you might be lost on what to do next. And even though you have never watched Arcane, there are so many things you can take from it, and you should definitely watch Arcane if you haven't. For those who have not watched Arcane, I know that the person who recommended me Arcane gave me this sentence, and since then I give this sentence to absolutely everyone I meet when I ask them to watch Arcane. It's, there is a big chance that you're going to like the story. If you don't like the story, you're gonna like the characters. If you don't like the characters, you're gonna like the music. If you don't like the music, you're gonna like the art and the entire design of Arcane. And if you don't like any of these, there will always be something that you like. The dialogues, the foreshadowing, the show not tell that they use all the time, the way they build their characters. There has to be something that you are going to like about Arcane. I have so many favorite shows, and when I recommend them to others, I know they're not amazing shows. It's just I like them. It's part of my little heart. But Arcane, objectively, even though I'm not trying really objective right now with the end of season 2, but objectively is so amazing. And there's so many videos out there telling you exactly what I'm saying right now. Try watching Arcane. It's just 2 seasons. You have 18 episodes in total, which is not that much. Now that this parenthesis is made, we need to talk about what inspires me in Arcane in my writing. The first thing I think that really connected with me, because it's something that really is part of what I'm looking for in a show, is representation. The reason why I love Six of Crows so much is also for this, for the representation that Leigh Bardugo gave us. And Arcane is so good at doing this exactly the same, but even better. I think Arcane is doing it even better, but I just love Leigh Bardugo so much that I kind of want to put them on the same scale, but like both are great in representation in general. But here, Arcane, oh my god, the representation is just insane. If we look at women, women are not built for the male gaze. They just exist as women. Strong women are not just strong men in the body of a woman. They're literally women, and you can feel it. You know those characters are well built. Every character from the LGBTQ plus community just exist, and it doesn't feel like a quota. It just feels like they have their space here, and it's just who they are, and they don't put too much on it. It just, they exist, they have their struggles, they go through things, not everything is given to them, and they're deep characters. I've seen a few videos of Black people who felt really represented, especially in the way their hair was represented in Mel and Echo's character. I saw also a lot of videos of people who have disabilities, and those people, we're talking about how those disabilities are so well represented in Arcane because they don't give you this tragic backstory. The characters just exist as they are with their disability. It's just part of who they are and nobody is questioning it. You think about Victor. Victor walks with a cane and we don't really have a backstory around it. We just know that it impacts his life and it will be a motive for him, and it's still part of him. It makes who he is in a way without making it a huge deal. It's still part of him because it's what motivates him to use science for the greater good, even though at the end he's kind of drifting a little bit. Let's not talk about this. For those who haven't watched Arcane, I'm gonna try not to spoil it. It's the same thing for Savika. Excuse me, but find a more badass character than Savika. And there's no terrible backstory. She just sacrificed herself and nobody is making a big deal out of it. It's just who she is now and people accept it, and period. They're not making a big deal out of it. I think it helps to represent people in a human way. Like, if I can talk from my perspective as a woman, I don't feel recognized enough because most of the time when they create female characters, we talk too much about the fact that they are women and we don't have the time to have deep introspective into the characters themselves and understand them in the way they work. And that's what I need also. I need to discover some part of my humanity as a woman and not always be represented to talk about the fact that I'm a woman on screen. I don't care about that. Even Isha is so well represented. She has her disability, she exists with it, and no one is questioning it. She's just here. And I know that in my writing, it's so important for me to represent people well. Even though I don't have a disability, I am a white person and I have a lot of privileges, I want to be able in my art to make sure that people feel recognized. For this, I have to make sure that I listen to people who live this so that I can write them well. I want them to, if they see someone that they relate to, they can feel welcome in the piece of art that I'm creating. And that's why I think representation is so important. I want people to feel safe and welcome. When I was a child and I was reading Harry Potter at the time where I didn't know everything about J.K. Rowling, I had this perspective of like, this was making me dream and I felt safe. I am so thankful that I grew up with this universe because as a child, it brought so much peace for me. I realize I'm really privileged in the way that I'm represented. Even though I'm a woman, I still have a lot of privileges on the side. I had this chance to dream and dream with who I am fully without forgetting pieces of myself. And I think this is why representation is important, so that everyone can dream and feel represented. And I don't know, it's just, I feel like it's such a sweet thing that I want it more in art in general. And that's why Arcane is also a big part of my inspiration, because they do it so well. And I found this article where they were talking about the fact, and this is something that I want to underline so much. They talked about the fact that Arcane do not build great female characters. They create amazing characters who, most of them, happen to be female. When I read that, I was like, yes. Yes, exactly. I know I connect a lot with Jinx, but the one that strikes me the most in this is Mel. Because Mel is beautiful. She's beautiful, of course, for everyone, but she is also beautiful for the male gaze because we see how Jace reacts to her. But she is beautiful and she knows it. And thank you, finally, a character who's absolutely gorgeous and she knows it and she uses it as a tool, because I am sick of female characters who are absolutely gorgeous and they act like they're not until a man tells them that they're beautiful. No, I want confident female characters who know they're pretty. Give me this everywhere. And the fact that she uses it as a tool, oh my god, she's amazing. And on Jinx, I'm not talking too much because there are other episodes. I want to make a full episode on this, on how Arcane created amazing female characters. It will be a full episode on this, that's for sure, because there's so much about Jinx that I cannot put in this one episode, but there will be more information about this character. I feel like Jinx is one of my favorite characters because I connect to her. Of course, my favorite character is Echo, but I feel like it's not surprising for anyone. Who doesn't like Echo anyway? If you hate Echo, go see a therapist. He's so sweet. There's no way, like, oh my god. You know, I'm still so sad about him. I'm not gonna say more for those who haven't watched Arcane. But guys, how am I supposed to go on with this? this was my first point in general for all the representation. But there are other things that I love about Arcane, and one of them is also the world building. And I know it's not just about Arcane, it's the entire League of Legends game, because it was brought up from this game at first. The entire way Piltover is built is so realistic, and I think it's so important to have those universe that, yes, are fictional, but you can still relate to it, because I think we need art to understand our world better. And if you have a hard time feeling like it's realistic, it's difficult to project yourself in it. It's difficult to bring lessons from it. And I'm not saying it has to be exactly like our universe. No, it just has to make sense in the way the characters and the society itself works. And I feel like in Arcane, the sort of relationship between Piltover and Zaun is so well built. And also there's this thing where there are so many characters from Piltover who have ideas on Zaunites and the same way around. And it's kind of a tension of like, they don't understand each other because they didn't grow up in the same situation, and they know that one of them is privileged, and those who are in Piltover are scared of Zaunites because they have this vision of like, they're in the Undercity is full of crime, etc, etc, etc. I think the society is well built and it impacts the characters in a way that is realistic, and the universe doesn't have to be exactly the same as in our life, but it brings a lot of lesson of things that are happening in our world, our real world, and how we can reflect on that and understand some themes about what's happening with us, and trying to bring lessons and try to bring people together around this topic. I love world building so much, really. I don't know how to explain, but when I create a universe for my book, it's just, I like to know that if I want to, I can close my eyes and go there. And it won't be like those dreams, you know, when you're your normal size and at some point you end up being super tall. I want my universe when I dream to just make sense all the way through, and that there's no, oh, but this is weird. Like, if this happens, then this doesn't make sense, and this doesn't make sense. And I want things to like a puzzle, just click. And I think Arcane did a great job with that, even though, okay, Arcane took it from the game. So if I had to, let's say, applaud something, it would be more the creator of League of Legends. But as we're talking about Arcane, I really wanted to bring that up because it's just a topic that I love. Now, next point is everything about the show not tell and all the foreshadowing. This is so good. I swear in Arcane it is so good. And to tell you how much I think it's so good, this weekend I've rewatched the entire, hear me out, the entire series of Arcane, from episode 1 of the season 1 to season 2 episode 9. For those who have the video, I'm gonna show you. For those who are with the audio only, I'm gonna tell you, but I took notes and I have 48 pages of notes. I started highlighting most of the things that I found about the characters, about the show not tell, about the world building, about the parallel, because there's a lot of parallel that I absolutely love. There's this thing, oh my god, the fact that the first thing Echo says is, give me a few seconds. I'm trying not to scream in the microphone, but I swear there's so many details like this that just brings me joy. It is well written. Everything that is written in this is not just randomly put out there. It is really written for some purpose. And I remember this screenwriter teacher, he was like, don't write dialogues at the beginning because I know you're terrible at writing dialogues. And he was so right. Most of us are terrible at writing dialogues because, and even I'm pretty sure, because we tend to recreate what we hear in real life. No, that's not how it works. In movies, in shows, everything you say has to mean something. It has to have meaning behind it. I have an example. It's a spoiler. Okay, wait, I'm not gonna spoil it from Arcane. I know it happens in Arcane. I'm not gonna tell you which characters. For those who've watched the show, you know who characters it's going to be. It happens in many show and many movies, but this is like a simple example for you to understand. When someone asks someone else to promise them something, and the person does not promise, but is valid with it, like they go along with it, they're like, I'll do it. But they don't promise, even though it's like the closest characters ever, and you feel like the character really wants to do it, but the character do not promise, you can be 100% sure that they will end up not doing it. The dialogue would have been the same way if they ended up promising. In the end, the character doesn't do it. But because you put this thing of they don't promise, then it will not happen, and you have this thing of like, it won't happen because you have this information. And I love it so much. And this is just a small detail. Okay, I just want to talk about one thing. It's going to be a small spoiler, but it's from season 1, so it's okay. And it's not like the biggest spoiler for those who haven't watched the show. When I'll do the timestamps, I'm going to try to put where the spoiler is so you don't have to hear it out if you don't want to, because I don't think it's necessary. But for those who've watched the show, it's just a detail that I'm so obsessed with. And I love the fact that it's not even a useful detail. It's just the way that I see it every time. I love it so much. There's 2 parallel that I'm obsessed with, and they're not even important. It's just in my head every time I think about them. I'm like, I love it. The first one is at the very beginning, I think in episode 2, the enforcers go in Vander's bar. Marcus is leading them. You know, the enforcers that's kind of impatient and he really want to get things moving. When he comes there, he says 2 things. The first thing is, I ran into an old friend of yours. This friend of yours is Silco. All right. And if you connect this with episode 3, at the beginning of episode 3, at the very beginning, you have the scene of Silco drowning and hold the scene explaining how he got his eye, where his thirst of vengeance kind of come about. You have a scene where you don't see who's drowning him, but Silco says, and for that, I thank you, old friend. And it's just a small detail, but I love the fact that it connects the fact that it's Vander drowning him and the policeman saying, old friend, I ran into an old friend of yours. It connects Silco and Vander to this scene. And I know it's just a small detail, but I just love it. And it's all those dialogue details that I think makes me so happy, because when I rewatch a show, I'm just like, oh my god, it makes sense now, and it makes me so happy. And there's another one, again, it's so useless. It's not really a spoiler, but it just, I don't know. It's just the fact that at the same scene, so the second thing that Marcus says when he goes into this bar is, I'm just gonna have to bring my notes because every time I forget the line, but he says, aha, I got it. We all know there is a crime behind every coin that passes through this place. And they could have used any sentence. Any sentence. But the coin reflects afterward a moment where when he gets paid and people are killed because of Marcus's action, a coin drops in the blood and the coin is full of blood. It is a parallel with him blaming the Undercity for those crimes that he didn't even see. He doesn't have any proof, but because of his ideas and stereotypes he's going to put it on them. He's going to have all those ideas, but he ended up being the one responsible for the crimes. And I think we even see this coin in Act 2, where he thinks about some stuff and he has the coin and the coin is still full of blood to remind him of his action. And I love this sort of parallel of like, violence is on both sides. And the entire show is around this sort of parallel that I absolutely love between the 2 sisters, between Piltover and Zahn. Even when Silco in the very end talks about violence, I'm not gonna spoil, but you know this moment, the cycle of violence and everything. I know that with Jinx's character, there's a lot of dependency on others, not just on Silco. I know that Silco is the one that is the obvious one, but not just on Silco. I found so many information about that makes this character so deep and interesting and gives her an identity. Oh, and I wanted to talk about this too. Okay, in Arcane characters, what I found is that their qualities most of the time end up being their worst flaw. I remember this video that I saw, so it's a French video. Those YouTubers once did a video with nuns, and they talked about the fact that humans have a quality that most of the times reflect their biggest flaw. And one example we can give for that is Vi. I feel like Vi has her biggest quality is that she takes care of others. She wants to take care of others and create this community so that everyone is safe, everyone has a place to crash. She wants to take care of others. It's just who she is. And when you think about it, it's also what brought her to hurt her sister many times. And not just at the moment at the end of episode 3 for those who think about this, but also at the end of episode 9 of season 1, when she wants to bring back Jinx as Powder, it is torturing for Powder. But just because it is who she is, to try and save everyone, she's gonna try to save Powder, like bring back Powder from Jinx. But we see how it hurts Jinx to go back to those memories. It is traumatic for her. And sometimes, so it's her biggest quality to take care of people, but sometimes she forgets that people don't want to get helped, and it hurts them in the end. And that's how the character is so deep also. It is so much connected with humanity and how we work as people. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much. I think I talked enough in this video, but there will definitely be other episodes about Arcane. Not specifically about Arcane, but about things used in Arcane, and I'm gonna be doing, like, for example, episodes about show not tell, about foreshadowing, probably in the same episode because those are really related. We'll see if I do different episodes for both. And I definitely want to talk about how they wrote female characters because I found so many interesting information and I didn't have time to talk enough about this. So there will definitely be those 2 or 3 episodes. I want one on world building and maybe on representation too. But know that those episodes are coming. If you're interested in following this little adventure, you're more than welcome to do so. Don't hesitate to subscribe to be aware of those episodes. Those episodes get out every 2 weeks. I'm trying to keep a sort of rhythm where it is possible for me while still keeping my mental health steady. So I hope you're going to enjoy all those videos coming up. Until then, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and I will see you next week. I will leave you now so that I can cry again on Arcane's ending. Goodbye.